Welcome to a new episode of the Beauty of Business podcast. Today's guest has spent over $100 million on ads and is one of the best media buyers out there. So get ready for a meta marketing and masterclass. Welcome to the pod, Marin.
Thanks for reminding me, and thanks for the kind words. You're putting some pressure with this episode on me.
Well deserved. What do most people get wrong about meta ads?
So most people think that like, hey, we're gonna run Facebook ads and like we're gonna get rich. But the thing is, like Facebook ads are just a cherry on the top, they're an amplifier. When you already have a product market fit, when you have an offer that's dialed in, when you know what your customers want, why they want it, and when you know how to actually communicate that to them. So basically thinking, hey, like Facebook ads is amazing, everybody has success, and I'm just gonna like create this store, like we're gonna run some ads, some image ads, and like they will convert. But that's definitely not the reality. So I think that, how do I say it, expectations of how easy it is to run Facebook ads is what most people get wrong. That's kind of like, that's a cause for most of the problems, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I would agree. We get a lot of you work with a high budget and big brands. We work with kind of smaller, more niche and smaller budgets, and we get a lot of those. Let's just turn on Facebook ads and Google ads, and then the business is flying. But I saw a post you had on LinkedIn and on Twitter
Yeah,
a couple of days ago talking about ROAS and the foundations of the business, and it resonated really well in terms of the back end of the business has to be sustainable for you to actually run ads.
exactly. I mean, there are definitely like different tiers of clients and different ROAS targets they need. There are some clients that tell us, hey guys, like I know we're gonna run on break even because we know our numbers and LTV, so we can afford that. On the other side, there are some clients that like come to me and like ask, okay, what's your target, Ross? They tell me, like one guy told me 8. And I said like, okay, why 8? He said like, I don't know, I just think it like we are currently having a 3, so I think like we should do 8. Then I did a calculation. His break even was 1.6. So I told him like, I mean, you could literally earn so much more money just by
Yeah,
like increasing the volume. On the other side, like, back in the days, like 5, 6 years ago, you could have like Ross of 4, 5.
yeah,
Everybody had that because like it was the golden era of ecom. Uh, Consumers were not so educated. Facebook ads had like decent targeting. You could put an image and get Ross of 5. But nowadays, like things changed. And if you don't have a proper backend, if you don't have proper margins, so imagine if you like buy something for $20, then you sell it for 50. Obviously, it's going to be super hard for you to be profitable because you have operating expenses, you have to pay for your ads, you have to pay the salary to your team. So like there's a very little profit that uh, is left to you. So by having a proper margins, and like, okay, actually mark up your product properly. I'm not saying, hey, like buy jewelry for $2 and then like sell it for 2,000. Obviously, that's not gonna work as well. I mean, it might work for some, but like things have to be dialed in the back end before you can actually start run Facebook ads.
yeah. I I very much agree. Um, you run a lot of different ads, different ad creatives and stuff. And obviously there's always a winning ad set or winning ad. Do you spend any time analyzing why ads didn't work, or do you only focus on winning ads?
Okay, so that's a good question. So when I'm doing a report to our clients in terms of creative analysis, first we check the winners. Okay, this ad has amazing ROAS for CPA. Okay, then let's check its creative metric. Okay, what's the thumb stop ratio? What's the hold rate? Why people are starting to watch the video? Why people are hooking? What's the angle? So probably you're gonna get most learnings by uh, analyzing winners. On the other side, I don't have probably I don't think it makes sense to analyze all the losers. What we do is we analyze some outliners. So basically, if I have an ad with amazing thumb stop ratio, but like then pretty bad hold rate, okay, I'm gonna check what's happening here because I need at least one metric that's promising.
Yeah.
Then I know that I can improve the other metric and get it to the point that it might work. So for example, we found out that like we could get super high thumb stop ratio by like, having an almost clickbaity hooks that results in like 50, 60% thumb stop ratio, but then the hold rate is pretty terrible. So then it might not make sense for us to like get that attention because these people are like, clickbait is almost like, hey, I'm gonna give you $100 for free. Obviously, you're gonna have amazing thumb stop ratio, but nobody's gonna be interested in buying. So I think like we need to find the outliners, basically the high opportunity ads that we could improve. Not necessarily we are gonna learn from them, but there's a high chance we could improve them.
I see. Yeah, it's interesting because most of the kind of advice online and the marketing advertising gurus is kind of just look at the winners, look at the winners. But I think it's very interesting the part where it's kind of one indication that something is working, that you could probably take something from this ad and put it in another, or cut up the video or the graphic, and then make it work in a different setting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like if I have a video that has like below thumb stop ratio, below hold rate, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna look at it. If I have an average thumb stop ratio and below average hold rate, I'm not gonna look at it. But if I have amazing thumb stop ratio but bad hold rate, okay, there's something there. There's a potential because it's hard for me to improve both of the metrics if the concept is already bad. So that's why I like to focus either on winners where there's actually learning that we can get, or iteration of these high potential where one metric is really outstanding.
In terms of creatives, what are you seeing now? What is working? What's kind of going out of fashion?
So I would say what's working is like always outside of the box idea and genuine user experience. So like UGC, I mean, it might still work, but people see through that like this is the best phone you will buy or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it really has to be authentic. So that's why I suggest to my clients that have like a lot of customers, just reach out to your customers, ask them to film a like review of your product, how they are using it, why they are using it, how it helped them. In exchange, you can give them a free gift card, or you can give them a free product. That ad has way bigger chance of succeeding than just like you sending product to the UGC, no matter how UGC will be scripted, because these people that will buy from you, they will relate to these customer experience more than to the UGC. That's one thing. So basically, obviously you cannot run that ad as it is, because you will get people that will say, I don't know, and stuff like that. So basically it needs to be like an ad, but you have those key phrases that people will mention. That's one thing. The other thing is what we are noticing is whitelisting through authority. So basically, let's say if you're in a pet space, you could get a veterinarian. If you're in like plantar fasciitis, you could get podiatrist and stuff like that. So basically, if you have someone who's an authority in the space, the ads are more likely to convert because then the ad feels more credible. It's from someone who has an experience and knowledge about the topic. And the third thing is it's kind of like relying a bit more on the, TikTok trends. So let's say we see street style interview, podcast ads, and those are like connection what I mentioned outside of the box idea.
Yeah.
So those three are what I would say are currently dominating.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because I've recorded many podcasts and had many talks about advertising and marketing, and what didn't kind of resonate with me kind of through the UGC wave is I think UGC definitely has a space in the mix because it can work, but when you go from UGC, what it should be is what you mentioned, actual consumers, users of your product, talking about your product, to going to influencers or UGC creators, just this is the script, make this video. The authenticity disappears.
Exactly.
and then the whole wave is over and it's kind of useless. And secondly, the authority thing is looking very strong at the moment. And then you see some brands kind of trying to do it, and then they go to Dwayne the Rock Johnson to promote a hair product, and then it's yeah,
It's
falls
not
a
the
bit flat.
best mix. Yeah,
No, it needs to be actually authentic.
exactly.
So, if people follow you on Twitter or LinkedIn, you talk a bit about, or a lot about, kind of ad structure, campaign structure, and optimization. There are always ongoing discussions about the structure and bidding and campaigns. How do you structure a account and your campaigns now?
Yes. So first of all, I just want to mention that like I'm not the guy that will preach one dogma and like this is the way you have to run the ads.
Yeah.
That way, like if you're running 100 campaigns and you have success, go for it, just stick with it. So like do whatever works for you. My way is like I'm not a fan of like having one campaign like some people are preaching. I'm not a fan of like having like 100 campaigns. I like to have creative testing campaign, which is ABO, because creative is what makes or break your ad account. And I want to give each of my tests a fair chance of succeeding. So that means each test is its own asset. So if we have three different tests, I will have three different assets, and then each of the tests would have like 3 to 4 variations. So basically, one test, 4 variation, other test, 4 variation. Because my goal is not to like find one ultimate winner that will carry the ad account. My goal is to find a couple of winners that are above my target KPI that could support that main winner. That way, I could scale each good performing ad set on its own because it's in an ABO. If I do that in a CBO, Facebook would probably fixate the spend on one or two. New ones would not get spent. Then there's no learning for me to pass back to the creative team. Obviously, with CBO, you'll be slightly more effective, but in an ABO, I think that due to the scale of the good test, I can offset bad tests. So that's campaign number one, ABO testing campaign. And then whatever works from testing, I take the ad with the post ID and I put it into Advantage Shopping Plus with a cost cap. Again, some people are preaching just cost cap. I don't like to use them for testing, but I love to use them for scaling. So basically, I have one big campaign with a high budget, and it's only winning ads there. So basically, even if the Facebook does not deliver at the target CPA, it cannot be so bad just because I put proven ads there. So that's kind of my my approach in terms of the structure. Those are 2 core campaigns. For some clients that are, let's say, jewelry or clothing, I have a catalog campaign because then, people like to swipe through those cards. And sometimes I have additional campaign where I would be testing some of the audiences. But as I said, these 2 are core campaigns: ABO testing campaign and Advantage Shopping Plus with the cost cap and winning ads.
Interesting. In terms of budget optimization and bidding strategies, you touched on it now. But for the people who listen to the podcast and don't know what ABO or CBO and stuff means, could you just explain how you kind of distribute your budget on different campaigns?
So basically, CBO means that you have a budget that's set on the campaign level, and then inside you could have, let's say, 10 different ad sets. And Facebook would spend 90% of the budget on one ad set, and then like on all of the others, it could spend just 1%. In an ABO, it's ad set budget optimization. So we have one campaign and then multiple ad sets, but we define budget for each of the ad sets, and then we determine what the proper budget per test should be. Usually, I like to give each of the tests fair chance succeeding. It requires a bit more manual work because we have to adjust the budget manually. It's not Facebook that's doing that like in a CBO, but I found that Facebook in a CBO can sometimes push the budget based on the high click-through rate the ad has or the high thumbs-up ratio, which is not necessarily correlated to the performance. And I want my budget always to be tied to the performance. That's why I like to use ABO.
In terms of targeting, we see more and more people talk about Meta doing the heavy lifting or the creative doing the heavy lifting. What's your take?
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. Like, if you asked me this like 4 or 5 years ago, I would tell you like, no, bro, it doesn't make sense. I was the guy that was, trying to hack the algorithm, trying to find that interest audience that nobody else is using, because I mean that worked.
Yeah.
Like, whoever found the most niche interest that's still big enough to handle the scale, he scaled the ad account. But nowadays it's like, okay, Facebook has all the touch points about the data, and your angle of the ad, your creative is doing the targeting.
Yeah.
So we run all of our tests on broad, basically no interest targeting, no lookalikes. You're just letting Facebook to deliver the ad to whoever it makes most sense. But how does that actually work? You see people talking, hey, angle is doing the targeting, but like, how does that actually work? So imagine if you have a ad that says, like, imagine if you're selling shoes that you understand, like a lot of people that are traveling are wearing. So people that they need like lightweight shoes that are still pretty. So basically we realized for one of our clients that like, okay, people that are traveling are buying these shoes. So in our ads, the girl says in the hook at the start of the ad, she says, are you traveling abroad? And like, if I'm the guy that's traveling abroad, I'm more likely to continue to watch the video. I will say yes, just in my head. I don't have to say it out loud, but like, okay, this is something that interests me. So as I continue to watch the video, because I'm the guy who travels, Facebook learns, hey, all the guys that are traveling are watching the video. So, okay, we need to serve the ads to the people that are usually traveling. So that's how Facebook is doing the targeting. Like, he understands that people, I mean, if you do the proper qualification in the hook, that's how you point Facebook to the right audience.
Yeah. Step backwards just to follow up on when you do testing and kind of decide winners or where to scale. Do you do testing based on budget, kind of the feedback cycle, or do you spend X amount of days no matter what budget you have?
No, I spend budget, but I would rather have, one day, I would rather have like 5 days of $100 data than 1 day of 500, because one day can be like a hit or miss. Usually we let each ad run, let's say 3-4 times CPA, because if you didn't get the proper CPA, there's a very, very low chance that this ad after 3 days would turn around and become an instant winner. As I said, if your tests are generally bad, then like in an ABO, you could like say you could lose a lot of budget because the tests are ineffective. On the other side, if your tests are pretty good, you could scale a lot of individual tests. So that's why my approach depends. Okay, what's the AOV? What's the overall budget of the ad account on a daily basis? And how many tests we have available? So let's say I have one client that is spending 2K a day and he wants to test 10 tests a week. And the AOV is 150. So there's no way I could test that in an ABO, because just like in 2 days, I would waste a lot of budget and I could not even get to the point that it makes sense. So for that client, we test in a CBO. On the other side, I have one client that is spending 30K a day, and we also have 10 tests a week. And the AOV is 150 again. And then I can start each of my tests with $100. After 3 days, I will evaluate. I will check if there's some variation that are not good enough. If the test is not picking up, I would decrease the budget or increase the budget depending on the performance, and then I will let it run for the next 2 days before I evaluate again. So my approach definitely depends on the AOV, number of available tests, and daily budget.
Yeah.
Also for the client that's spending 2K, I cannot put $100 budget, because that would be on 10 tests, that would be half of the overall ad account budget. So I cannot afford that to myself.
I see. what's been so much harder the last couple of years is the tracking and data reliability. Do you use any of the Meta's on-platform data, or do you only rely on third-party tracking?
So that depends on the client. I would say most of the eight-figure clients that we have, they're using Norbeam. Seven-figure clients are either on Triple Whale or they have some kind of third-party conversion API providers that are kind of like enrichment tools that are increasing your event match score rate, like Converge, Elevar, Upstackify. Then due to those, most of the data in Facebook is still accurate. And you can even create some custom event like new customer purchase that you can track right away in Facebook. So I would say that that really depends, but nobody is running without any. So either they have a third-party tracking software or they have conversion API server setup, which actually enables to push back all the sales that Facebook would not usually catch.
I see, I see. No Hyros for econ?
I had just one client that's on Hyros. To be honest, it's not my favorite, but most people are usually Triple Whale or Norbeam.
Yeah, makes sense. I personally, like I mentioned, work with a lot of businesses and run campaigns very periodically and rely heavy on sales and discounts. So it's kind of like we do a sale in January and then in Feb, and then there is always a reason to have a sale.
Yeah.
In your experience, what works best, kind of evergreen and continuously advertising, or kind of on-off campaigns?
I don't have any client that's not continuously advertising, but we definitely see a spike when we do a sale. Let's say we had a Valentine's Day sale. Before that, we had a New Year's sale. Then we will have Easter sale. So there's definitely a reason to have that sale because, as you mentioned, there's a spike every time. To be honest, I don't have any client that's like, hey, we don't have a sale, we're going to turn off the ads. Some people even run a sale, like there's always, website is always on sale. So basically, even though Valentine's Day ended, we now switch to Women's Day, International Women's Day sale. Then we'll switch to Easter. So basically, there's always sale. It's just not like, hey, it's a week or 3-4 days. It's like a longer period of time.
Yeah, because I had a chat yesterday with a friend of mine that's in charge of a store's Meta and Google Ads, and they kind of do sales every month, and it's the content is just towards that sale, so it's no underlying green evergreen content. So it's very interesting to see that approach, but I don't think it's very sustainable for the business because it's impossible to actually scale.
Yeah, you end up just like, depending on the sale, and if the one sale is not doing well, if the offer is not there, then you're like, okay, in trouble.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. My background is also in the watch and jewelry industry, and there it's very kind of sales heavy in different seasons, which makes sense, but they usually turn off a lot of their ads outside the seasons, and there is kind of no spending, which
I guess that does not surprise me because like it's a high AOE and people want to save more, so that's why they're buying during the sale period.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You are now working with kind of huge brands and big budgets, at least what I've seen. But I imagined you started with kind of smaller businesses and smaller budgets. What's the biggest difference with working with these huge brands and the smaller ones, besides the budget?
Yeah, so I mean, initially I was like, okay, how I'm gonna manage? Like first time I took over a brand that was spending 2K a day, like I could not sleep the first day because like I was so concerned like how the results are gonna be tomorrow. Like the first thing that I did when I woke up, and I think it was even Saturday, and I was like, okay, the results are okay. So I did not mess up anything up. But the biggest difference is that like bigger brands have like dialed in and you have so much support. On the smaller brands, you are helping them with the tracking. You are like, giving, you're finding the creatives yourself. They say, hey, bro, but like I don't have creative. So then you go manually on their Instagram and then you're trying to go find a post that could be a good ad. You go on their TikTok to download the ad, then you download the video and like it's a bit of watermark, then you have to do it again. So like you have to be a lot more scrappy to actually like get results. You have to be more resourceful. Basically, because bigger clients have things dialed in. You have team that delivers you creative, you have a proper naming convention, you use tools like Motion to analyze the data, you have they have better margins. So like I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, but everything is easier on a bigger client. On a smaller one, like it's really a hassle. You tell them you need creatives, but they don't know what creatives they need. So like there's a lot more effort that you need to put in to get some decent results.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we've been working with kind of everything from small local businesses to pretty huge ones, and it's it's so funny. You get paid more, and it's easier to work with the big ones, and then you have to like you said, scrap and kind of figure everything out yourself with the smaller ones that pay less. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, interesting paradigm. Um, some of the brands you've worked with are Hoodie or Oodie, I mean.
Oodie, yeah.
Yeah. How did they scale so successfully? Because that's like it's a weird product, and then it kind of just smashed it.
Yeah, it's amazing product. So that was actually like I would not say one of my first line, but that's definitely my first success story. And
Yeah.
it was like pretty weird story actually. Um, he reached out to us and he said like I have this brand that we are running. Like, can you do the audit? We did the audit, but it wasn't Oodie, it was his other brand,
Yeah.
Calming Blanket, which at that time was like way bigger brand. They were spending like, 4 or 5K a day. And then like after a week, he said like, I have this other brand, like it's not doing so well. Can you take a look? And I take a look and it was DUD. I was like, okay, like this definitely has legs and it has potential because it's a one size product. So like there's no hassle with the returns. You can just add new patterns. Girls would love that. So like very soon I managed to scale that like let's say from 2K a day in spend to 10K. And at that time it was me, Davey, who's the founder, and the girl from customer service. So basically just three of us. But then like when I left, I was with them for 3.5 years. When I left, it was like a team of 70, 80 people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I worked with them for 3.5 years, and like although I was a freelancer, I was almost felt as a part of the team because we went from one ad account to six ad accounts, each ad account for each region. We managed to scale like at when I left, I think we were spending 100K a day on Facebook ads. I mean, that's for all of the regions, but
Yeah, but that's insane.
it was a huge success, and I think the I grew the brand grew me. We kind of like grew together. What how we managed to scale so much? I think like there are a couple of reasons. As I said, the product is amazing. Then the first thing that happened is COVID, and everybody like we're at home and like this is the perfect product for being at home. So that's kind of like propelled us from 10K a spend to 30K a spend. Then the next thing was like adding new patterns, but adding new collaborations, with Harry Potter, with Disney and stuff like that. So basically you were not the guy that's selling wearable hoodie, you were a guy that's selling to every Harry Potter fan, every Disney fan. And we were just adding these license deals that actually get us, let's say, from 30 to 60, 70K. Then they started adding new products because you cannot just sell to people that are into wearable hoodies. So basically, when we started adding Uggs, blankets, pillows, stuff like that, that actually got us to the next level. So I think it was executed really, really well. And we obviously had some luck when the first spike happened during the COVID. which actually propelled a lot of the businesses in the e-com. And they, like a lot of the businesses have problem to kind of like, they had problem to beat that year next year because, you just skipped 5 years in advance.
Yeah. Oh, it's COVID was crazy.
Yeah.
What was so interesting is kind of in March, kind of because of the uncertainty, everyone turned off ads and
Yeah.
everything. There was
Yeah.
and then the ads were so cheap for like a month, and then
Yeah.
the prices went up again. It was so interesting, kind of running ads in that time period
Yeah.
because
It was strange.
yeah, it was like our costs are down 50%. We have done absolutely no changes. Just
Yeah.
everyone
Exactly.
else turned it off. Uh,
Yeah.
but the interesting case here as well is kind of the product fit is of course important and the advertising, but in terms of there are so many e-com stores and different brands, but how much does the founder kind of have to kind of affect the brand and the growth? Because uh, the the Oodie wasn't kind of the only one. There are many copies or similar products. So how much does the founder of the brand help the growth?
Yeah. I think he helped massively, especially with those like uh patents and like license deals that like
Yeah,
nobody could catch us at that point.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense because that's kind of what differentiates the
Exactly,
brand
exactly.
from
That was the big differentiator.
yeah. Um, More back to you. You're close to 30,000 followers on Twitter, which is kind of cool. Just talking about
Yeah,
Facebook ads. Um, how much of your business comes through your personal brand today?
95%.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that.
So basically, when the UD said they are leaving, I was like, okay, I was just managing 6 ad accounts. In a month, I would not be managing anything. We had handover period where I was training their media bar. But then, like, considering for 3.5 years, I did not do any outreach. We didn't do any, like, there
Yeah,
was no lead customer acquisition system. We were like at the point that, like, okay, agency is gonna shut down because like we don't have leads. We got a couple of clients, through referrals. Then we tried running the ads ourselves, but the quality of the leads was like super shitty, at least for us, because
yeah,
like we need certain level
yeah.
of spend. um, then we tried cold email, that did not work. Then we tried like cold DMing on Twitter, LinkedIn, that did not work. So it's like I told my partner, like, I'm gonna try this personal brand. It seems like it could be working. I had, I think, 400 followers at that time. And then I just started posting. I went I gone through the weeds of ecom, um, kind of like training and everything. I was with him for 3 months.
Mhm.
I got to 5K followers, but I still didn't get any lead. I mean, I got like few leads, but they were either bad or like they did not end up
Yeah,
being a client. And then just things started compounding. Like, followers grew. I got invited um, to masterminds, to conference, one lead, other lead. Uh, like we got to the point that I was getting like constantly leads, that I even brought two of my friends that I trained to be media buyers, and like, hey guys, like you're not gonna be freelancer anymore. We have like uh, insane number of clients that we need to serve. And today we are in that position. Still, I have two media buyers. All of my clients are coming through Twitter. I don't really care about the number of followers, although it is nice.
no.
But when I saw like, okay, I'm just actually sharing the value and people are coming to me, so this is a perfect, perfect scenario. And like starting with Twitter was probably like the best decision that I did in the past couple of years.
How much strategy do you put into it, or is it just kind of sharing your thoughts and insights?
It is sharing. Like at the start, I was more intentional. Hey, like I
Yeah,
need to do this uh video walkthrough, I need to do this strategy, I need to cover this tip. Now it is just like, okay, let's just share. what's happening to me on a daily basis, what I spot the patterns in the ad account, what the clients ask me, what the leads ask me. I share still some strategies, let's say ABO testing, stuff like that that are a bit more high level. I share some nuances. So I think it's a mix, but I don't have a structure anymore. Hey, I have to do this, like what I did initially.
So it's just kind of posting when you have something, and then
Actually, no, I'm posting 2 times a day. One is
yeah,
just like, short tweet, like just a tip. And the other is like, okay, something that's new, something that I'm noticing, something that happened to me, or like a bit more value
yeah.
than just a tip. And that's kind of like my daily cadence of posting.
And now you are doing the same on LinkedIn as well. It's the
Yeah,
same
I just
post, isn't
started
it?
re yeah, I just started repurposing everything from Twitter on LinkedIn. Uh, it is getting some traction, but I think still compared to Twitter, it's small numbers.
I think it's we have a couple of guys in Norway that's doing really well on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So it's very interesting to see. I kind of struggle with the platform as a whole because it's kind of you can find some value, but it's kind of become Facebook, just a little bit more
Yeah,
businessy.
it is.
Um,
That's why like Twitter is a bit more sophisticated, as at least in this DTC. On
yeah,
LinkedIn, everybody are, hey, like 5 reasons how you can up your routine. How,
yeah,
like, I don't know, and everybody are like, congrats. Like everybody, I don't know, it just
yeah.
doesn't it feel fake compared to Twitter. On Twitter, it's like real DTC raw discussion. Uh, and yeah, so far, like I didn't get any lead through LinkedIn, although I'm
Oh,
sharing the same stuff for the like past couple of months. But
yeah.
I know
It
some people that mention, sorry to interrupt, that like in Germany or in Europe, like they're getting leads through LinkedIn because LinkedIn is kind of like bigger and more businessy
yeah.
compared to the Twitter, at least in Europe.
Yeah, and I follow Marvin from Notice. They are kind of specializing in organic content on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And they kind of get, I think he said 90% of their deals are inbound leads from LinkedIn.
Yeah, interesting.
Um, so I'm kind of selfishly asking as well because um, I feel like I get distracted immediately when I go on Twitter. Um,
Okay.
so it's kind of start posting, but then you have to close the tab. Uh, but then it's hard to grow.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like to be honest, I don't have any European client at all. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the reason why I'm not getting traction on LinkedIn. And as I said, like I my personal brand is built on Twitter, so that's maybe like my words and tweets have more
Yeah.
weight there compared on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I
Makes
just
sense.
get like, people that are media buyers. Hey, like this is cool. Thanks for sharing. But on Twitter, hey, like how are you doing this? It's a slightly different level of people that follow me. So that's probably why more leads are coming through Twitter.
I'm taking notes. Um,
Yeah.
how do you see media buying and advertising evolving in the coming years with AI fresh in mind and potential, or if most of your clients are in the US, then regulations aren't kind of so important.
Yeah.
It's more UA.
To be honest, not really sure about regulations in terms of how media buying is evolving. It's definitely evolving, and like, but on the other side, people are mentioning, hey, media buying is dead for the past 5 years. Like when I was starting, people were like, hey, like don't be a media buyer, it's gonna be gone. But like media buying is still there. It's just your, how do I say, the things that you do on a daily basis are changing. As I said, I'm not picking the next audience like I did before with an interest. I'm like looking at the creative performance. So definitely like the roles that like uh tasks that I'm doing on a daily basis are different. Media buying is still there. Obviously, AI is propelling all of that. And like it definitely affects the role of a media buyer and in terms of the setup and everything. I think it's gonna also have a very big effect on the creatives I know there are at the moment still there are some people that are creating the ads via AI. To be honest, I don't think it's still there because it cannot even make like a proper image. I mean, it can, but like you can notice it. And like due to everything that's going into AI direction, I think what we mentioned initially that like rawness and authenticity will become even more important. So I think it would go either one or two way, but in which one I'm not really sure.
No, I have a kind of the same idea around the more raw and authentic advertising, as well as um, this is kind of talking against what we do right now, but in terms
Yeah,
of building audience and building brand, I think we're moving to more offline events and communities
exactly.
than online, because the more kind of online and everything's AI and nothing's real anymore, then we need kind of real life rooted communities and events. So um, but you can see that already, kind of
Yeah,
uh, high end brands opening coffee shops, which is
exactly.
like
And
why,
pop-up
but yeah.
stores and stuff like that. Yeah.
Um, what are your best tips for people getting started in media buying or in business in general?
Um, Regarding the business, to be honest, I don't know, like I'm kind of like an entrepreneur, but I never thought that I would be one, or I don't consider myself one. I'm just pretty good at media buying, and that turned out to be my job. In terms of the media buying, I would say like be curious, uh, understand the creative, and like know your numbers. Like ROAS is just a set of like it's like different numbers combined at the end. So when you understand both creative side and the analytical side, like it's a perfect match, and then like you'll be one of the unique ones.
It's kind of going back to how it's evolving. It's the math is always going to be there, but
Yeah,
more and more machine learning, the simpler the math is going to be. So the skill set is kind of more analyzing creatives
patterns.
and
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
understanding the numbers. So awesome. We have a final questions for every guest on the podcast, which is what's the beauty of business to you?
Sorry, what's the
What is the beauty of business to you?
beauty? Oh, okay. Um, I would say considering I'm a media buyer, freedom, but like freedom to be able to work whenever, from whenever. You just need a Wi-Fi and laptop, and that's it. Like it's not a financial freedom. I think it's that freedom that like, okay, if I need to go to the doctor appointment, like I don't have to ask anybody. I can just go. If I want to, I don't know, stay with my niece at like, in the noon on Wednesday, I can. So I think that is what actually is pushing me forward, and that's something that I cannot imagine being changed and working from like 9 to 5. Although I'm a guy that like, although I have a freedom, I'm still the guy that wants to do all of my work when I can and then relax later. But being able to do that and being able to choose is actually what's the beauty of the business.
I totally agree, and most of the people on the podcast has said the same thing. It's kind of the
Oh, nice.
freedom, but the funny thing is the common they say the same thing as you. They work so much and prefer to do their work in the day, but
Yeah,
it's just the ability and the option to like
yeah,
go to the
exactly.
doctor or turn off the computer if you don't feel like it.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was very interesting and insightful. Where can people find you and who should contact you?
Yeah, appreciate for inviting me. This was like a casual, but I think uh, we shared some good tips, laid up some foundations, and if this is going to inspire someone to become a media buyer or run an agency, that's amazing. As I said, people can mostly find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I'm sharing, tips and tricks, as I mentioned, on a daily basis about Facebook ads, strategy, running e-com business. So I'm pretty much replying to all of the normal messages in my DM. So if you just want to chat and you have questions about Facebook ads, just message me there. Most likely I'll reply.
I'll link both your your LinkedIn and the Twitter in the bio below. And thank you.
Perfect. Thanks again for having me.